enterprise. So this view on Maya as an illusion is only a partial view. Of course, we have to get rid of that illusion. We have to get rid of that partial view on things. So we will have to, through Maya, so to say, overcoming Maya, we have to arrive at knowledge, which would allow us to see that all forms of manifestation are the enterprise of the spirit, and not kind of veiling the spirit. Okay, so here what is interesting, that dharmana mitra varuna vipaschita vrata rakshethi asurasya mayaya. So by the dharma, by the law, it supports everything, and by the creative force of asura, of the Lord, or the mighty one, you guard all the workings. So it's not only by the support, which supports the dynamic truth, or which supports the truth within the manifestation, but also by that very force which creates this manifestation, that Maya. And here on Maya, it's a long quotation of Sri Aurobindo, which will explain quite well. This power was known to the Vedic seers by the name of Maya. Maya meant for them the power of infinite consciousness to comprehend, contain in itself, and measure out. That is to say, to form, for form is delimitation, name and shape, out of the vast, illimitable truth of infinite existence.
So delimitation means what? I don't know that word. Means becoming, having the unboundedness, taking some sort of form is creating boundaries within it.
Yeah, going out of limits.
Going out of limits.
Right.
How can that be? Form is limitation.
First is form is limitation when we look at from this perspective of being limited here. Yes, but that's what Maya is. Let us read, and it will explain itself. Yeah? It is by Maya that static truth of essential being becomes ordered truth of active being. Or to put it in more metaphysical language, out of the supreme being in which all is all, without barrier or separative consciousness, emerges the phenomenal being, in which all is in each and each is in all.
Right.
For the play of existence with existence, consciousness with consciousness, force with force, delight with delight. This is what they usually say, the one who sees all in oneself and oneself in all, he is this visionary who sees, who knows. So this is the overcoming of Maya. We will have to see it. This play of all in each and each in all is concealed at first from us by the mental play or the illusion of Maya, which persuades each that he is in all, but not all in him.
Okay.
And that he is in all as a separated being, not as a being always inseparably one with the rest of existence. Well, we recognize ourselves. Yeah, we are the center of a universe, so to say, and we can recognize ourselves in everyone, but we can't see everyone in ourselves. We can feel we are not ready to do this, this movement. we have to delimit ourselves. We have to break somewhere our ego to really see all in ourselves. It's much easier to see myself, my problems in others, than others' problems in myself. Yeah.
Well, if you take this, then you have to say, Trump is here because he is me.
Right. And this is very difficult to say.
Yes, it is.
It's easier to see what he does, what you would do, yeah, and what he doesn't, what you would do. So this kind of one movement of Maya is quite interestingly described. So, um, so after we have to emerge, yeah. Wait a minute. Where is this? Um, Yes, consciousness for the yeah. This play of all in each and each in all is concealed at first from us by mental play or the illusion of Maya, which persuades each that he is in all, but not all in him, and that he is in all as a separated being, not as a being always inseparably one with the rest of existence. Afterwards, we have to emerge from this error into the supramental play or the truth of Maya, where the each and the all coexist in this inseparable unity of the one truth and the multiple symbol.
What is
Now,
that? Multiple symbol.
um, multiple symbol, this manifestation is multiple. It's not one inseparably. There is
Oh, I see.
there.
Okay. You're just talking about the multiplicity of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, the lower present and diluting mental Maya has first to be embraced, then to be overcome. This is the very psychological attitude. There are two attitudes which he gives here for the yogin. First is you have to embrace this lower diluting Maya, which is telling you that you are everywhere, but not everything is in you. So how would you really overcome it? It's very difficult to overcome it, to break through it. You will have to accept it, so to say. You embrace it. For it is God's play with division and darkness and limitation, desire and strife and suffering, in which he subjects himself to the force that has come out of himself, and by her obscure suffers himself to be obscured.
That is quite a suffering, isn't it?
Yeah. It is God's play with division and darkness and limitation, desire and strife and suffering, in which he subjects himself to the force that has come out of himself, and by her obscure suffers himself to be obscured. This is what we call Prakriti, basically. She possesses Purusha, and she completely subjects Purusha to her will and her obscure movements. He gives her his attention, his power of consciousness, and she moves and does everything. That
So
other
may
Maya,
I ask you a question about that then?
yeah,
It seems like in our time, the people have taken to themselves, these like vision boards and these, you can create everything you see. You are what you see, and you can will the becoming, because creation is
yeah,
nothing,
it
just
fits
that.
here very good. Yes, this kind of power of projection, or power of desire, or intention, which you generate.
Intention, yeah, that intention thing is quite a big deal. So what do
Right.
you think about that? I mean, I always feel like on one order of reality, of course, there's nothing in this world but your own creation. in the first place, but it isn't your individuality that's doing the creating. Really, it isn't your individual small self. So all these vision boards and everything seem to be, or this writing down your intentions and trying to manifest your intentions. It seems like it's a very superficial kind of approach to the mightiness and the, the enormity of creation, of the creative impulse.
Right, right. It is this play of division, darkness, and limitation, which is here, which is real, and you can say that this works also. You can make your own intention. You put it on the fridge, the picture of the car you want to buy in 3 years, and it will come sooner or later. So all these kind of franchising, all this Amway. And
Yes.
are you on fire? Yeah, we're on fire. Are you?
Oh, is that Tony Robbins?
Yeah, yeah, Brit. Are you this
But
excited?
so, I mean, so there is this kind of dance, if you will, between God's Maya and the eternal um, intelligence of nature, and its will, and the will of the creator, of God, to have the whole thing um, moving at some kind of in some way that is way, way, way beyond any individual's intention.
Right, but we are dealing now, we want to see the nature of Maya, which is very difficult to see, by the way. This is one of the most difficult topics ever. Every time, any time, with whoever who knows Sri Aurobindo very well, by heart, everything, they don't understand the topic on Maya. And now I'm trying to kind of make sense of it. And I feel the difficulty because when you start going into the details, you lose the vision. We don't have this vision of the
Yeah.
spiritual overview from which you will see what Maya does. We don't have. We have to break to it. We have and he gives the way how to come to overcome Maya. He says that there are two different attitudes which we will have to follow. They are different, and why they're different, I will try to explain, because of the very nature of creation,
Right.
which had stages. And because of these stages, we have two different veilings, which are very different in nature. And because of that, when we are mixing them and calling them by one name, Maya, then we do not know what is what, really. But if we distinguish these two, we would have some glimpse at what we are dealing with. So here we have this approach which he gives to embrace and then to overcome, which is, we will come back to it again.
Now, when you say embrace, are you talking about embrace in it is a mental construct, to embrace the
Accept.
idea? Just accept.
I don't want to do any, how to say, narrowing down the meaning. Yeah? I would leave embrace, because accept is already narrowing down. But this is a synonym. Embracing means, yes, taking it as such. Yeah? Accepting its own kind of dealing. And then through that acceptance, we can overcome. Through that, we cannot start distinguishing it. We cannot go um, into the knowledge as a detailed knowledge. And by the way, it's a very good text in Kena Upanishad, where it is said that the one who distinguishes it, he is not distinguishing. The one who is not distinguishing it, he is distinguishing. This is the overcoming of this Maya, this one. Yeah? this first one. So by not distinguishing, you distinguish it. By it's a very great text there. Yeah, yasyam matam tasya matam. By whom it is known, by him it is unknown. Matam yasya navedasah. But it is known by him, thought by him, as the one who doesn't know. So the one who does not really distinguish it, he really sees it as undistinguishable. You cannot distinguish it. You can distinguish it as undistinguishable only. You cannot go and try to distinguish it. The moment you try to distinguish it, you will be in the field of the not knowing immediately. So you see, this is a psychological attitude. It's not just the mind. It is something what we have to do with the mind in order to arrive at knowledge, which is not mental kind of exercise. But the mind is always this Maya. Mind is Maya. Mind is actually the instrument of Maya. It is that creative force which manifests all the forms. So if I will start using mind for distinguishing the Maya, I will be in her hands. There will be no way out. You know? So yasya matam tasya matam. Matam yasya navedasaha avijñatam vijanatam. It is distinguished by those who distinguish it. It is distinguished as undistinguishable. Vijñatam avijanatam. And by those who do not distinguish, they really say that it is distinguished. The moment we distinguish, we immediately fall into the hands of Maya. So this is that first movement, to embrace it and then overcome it. So you should not try to follow the mind here. You should accept everything as the divine manifestation, regardless to, it doesn't look like divine, darkness, Trump, whoever, whatever, suffering, misery, Putin, wars, miseries, creation, the end of creation, destruction, Big Bang, whatever. Whatever the scale, everything is here the divine. This is the first step to overcome Maya.
Right. It makes sense.
Yeah, makes totally sense. If we start examining what is happening to us when we take this position in the mind, we're already somewhere getting free from this, judgment, who is who and what is what, and what we know and what we don't know. Because we know nothing. We know only that which is within the Maya given to us. We put form against form, name against name. Yeah, that's what we play with, and that's what Maya does. And then we are narrowing down. Then the second one is interesting. The other Maya, concealed by this mental, by this previous mental, has to be overpassed, then embraced. Wow, totally opposite attitude. Not embraced and overcome, but overpassed and then embraced.
That's a feature of just evolution, really, isn't it?
Correct.
See, feature. It's a state. It's a higher state of consciousness that you can't manufacture. That it has to be established. You have to be established in that in order to overpass that.
Right. Now here we have an attitude which is very different, because we don't need to accept everything as a divine already. We accept only the divine, and we don't accept nothing which is not the divine in its form, in its manifestation. For it is God's play of the infinities of existence, the splendors of knowledge, the glories of force mastered, and the ecstasies of love illimitable, where he emerges out of the hold of force, holds her instead, and fulfills in her, illumined, that for which she went out from him at the first. So now she comes back as the divine nature to him.
What a
No,
romance.
yes. And yeah, this is profound. I think this vision of two Mayas or two attitudes or two stages, and I noticed that there are two major attitudes. One is the spiritual attitude, where you accept everything as a divine already. And the other is the psychic attitude, which accepts nothing but the divine. And he speaks about this all the time in his integral yoga. and
But it's, to me, it just seems like a quality of maturity of consciousness,
of course,
where initially you see all of, you're exposed to creation as one thing. And then as you become more and more, um, I guess, surrendered, or more and more just overtaken really with divine pure consciousness, then the second attitude is just a natural uh, byproduct of that.
not totally so,
No?
because it cannot be byproduct. It is a specific attitude which requires finding in you, in individual, the divine element. Now you may surrender to the divine as if everything is a faith. Everything what happens to you is meaningful and you can do it, but it is not necessarily that you will notice that there are elements which have to be overpassed in order to embrace the divine nature. That you would not do. You may be stuck in the first overcoming, and this is very natural way of Advaitic overcoming. But there was never of that second stage of rejection of all the forces which um, resist or which are obstacles for the divine embodiment here. And this second rejection of all these temptations, desires, everything which comes to us, we can take and say, this is the divine. Well, it's the divine, it's not me, I didn't create this world. These desires of, of greed, of sex, of everything, it's his. I'm not in charge of this. So I go with it. And here I go nowhere. Here
No.
the problem, but because Maya is double, and this is the problem of our, so when we take that spiritual attitude, that's why you see many spiritual so-called masters are falling for this first Maya, overcoming it. They are proposing to see everything as the divine, and then they abuse others by this very postulate of overcoming this Maya. They do not offer the rejection of not divine forces in order to embrace the divine nature, which is emerging only. And since it is only emerging, it's very difficult to find. It is dynamically being manifested. And the second overcoming of Maya is much more difficult. It's a psychic rejection of everything which is not divine and accepting only the divine path. Yeah? Going only the divine way. But both are components of the same Maya. So in a way, we need both. One is not enough. If I take only psychic, rejecting everything which is not divine, I become fanatic, I become religious. I don't see anywhere truth, only in my way, my word, my dogma. I become dogmatic. If I have both, I can never become dogmatic, because I see the truth in others. It's the first overcoming of Maya. I
And
see,
so, but that's a quality of expanded awareness. And and what grows out of that is just love. It's kind of love that bridges that gap between those two Mayas.
right. So the second one, in my view, is this love from the heart, psychic love towards the divine. In the first, it is this knowledge or
Right.
this ananda,
Understanding
you
of
know,
the
which,
structure of it.
right. And here they both are necessary. So I was kind of spelling out in my way here. We can clearly see that these two movements of Maya, which have to be dealt with differently. Maya as his play with division and limitation, where the Supreme subjects himself finally to the darkness of his own inconscient force and becomes obscure. Um, it refers to the involutionary stage of creation, the fall of the first supreme emanations, and the plunge of the supreme into the darkness of inconscient, the sacrifice of the Purusha, or the holocaust of the Divine Mother, Atman Atmanam Abhisam Viveshat Itiriya. His desire to become many, Bahusyam, to become another, Sadvitiya Maichat, all this explains why he went for this obscurity. He had to become obscure in order to emerge another, to become many. There was no other way for him to do it. There are also from Savitri, when all was plunged in the negating void, non-being's night could never have been saved if being had not plunged into the dark. So this kind of involution first and then second involution, which I want to say. And the second movement of Maya is evolutionary and in its origin belongs to the second involution of the secondary emanations, where he emerges out of the hold of force, holds her instead, and fulfills in her, illumined, that for which she went out from him at the first.
So that's more like a unity, an experience of total unity of diversity.
Yeah.
The diversity had to emerge because of that original desire, and then it had to be embraced or unified for its fulfillment.
Yeah, it's like involution and evolution, two movements simultaneously. And Maya is built on both of them. And because of that, it is so difficult to overcome. Uh, it is an emergence out of the darkness of material inconscient of the psychic being and the gradual transformation of it into its higher prototype, the divine light, bliss, truth, and life. It is the moment of redemption for which the plunge, the sacrifice of the conscious soul was made in the first place. So the and these two attitudes are very different. By the way, Sri Aurobindo speaks of them all the time in his letters, especially answering sadhaks and to Pavitra, who asks him. He says that the attitude has to be changed once he has the feeling or he has already the touch or the presence of the psychic, because he started with spiritual, accepting everything. But when psychic emerges, the attitude has to change. You have to add to it rejection of non-divine forces in order to embrace the divine nature. Now, to embrace everything as a divine, and then to embrace only the divine nature, which is emerging out of that darkness. And this is the double movement of overcoming Maya.
But you have to, if you're going to reject the reject, it has to be rejected in a non um, a deploring manner. You have to, I mean, because the original movement, there's a purpose to it. There's a reason for that.
Of course, in Sri Aurobindo's yoga, in integral yoga, the first step is the freedom which you have to get, the mukti. You have to get out of this, of to the unborn self. You have to realize silent Brahman or static Brahman, as he says.
Right.
Yeah, and that static Brahman is the first overcoming of Maya, mukti, moksha. This is overcoming of Maya in one of those aspects. The second overcoming is the psychic, the birth of the psychic, which is the within the nature, which embraces only the divine nature and builds it up and does not allow any other forces to claim the divine origin there. which is more selective, more rejecting. Yeah? Um, he has two formulas for sadhaks. One is remember and offer, and other is surrender, aspiration, rejection, surrender. These three have to go. As aspire, this is this from the psychics, looking for the divine in nature. Then reject forces which are claiming to be useful, but they are not. They will drag you down and you will become normal. And then surrender totally to that which you found after rejection is being made. Now, this rejection is not a part of overcoming of Maya in the first, in the first modality. There is embrace and then overcome. And here, overcome and then embrace. Interesting. This is really very, from psychology point of view, it's a profound spiritual psychology.
Mm-hmm.
So the two movements should have different metaphysical and psychological treatments, as it were, and if one wants to overcome the influence of Maya. The first, from above the head, is to embrace all with a perfect equality and thus overcome influence of Maya in the mind. The second, from within the heart of the psychic being, is to overcome all what is non-divine and then to embrace the divine. There is a very good story which was discussed in evening talks with Sri Aurobindo, and somebody brought this, I was mentioning it already, from Ramakrishna's Math. Some, sannyasi came with a prostitute to his ashram to stay. Brahmin, sannyasi within sannyasa, but together with prostitutes. And Ramakrishna was furious. He was cursing him, sending him away, and so on. And he said, "I spit on your Vedanta," even spit on your Vedanta. And somebody asked Sri Aurobindo to explain why Ramakrishna was so furious, because this sannyasi told him, "Why are you so angry? Everything is Brahman. I am Brahman, you are Brahman, and she is Brahman also. Why are you so unhappy? She is Brahman. Don't you believe that she is Brahman? Or what is happening between us, it's also Brahman. Everything is Brahman." This is the first overcoming of Maya, which is becoming an obstacle. And you know what Sri Aurobindo answered? He said he was judging it from the psychic point of view, from the second overcoming of Maya. He cannot take it. So if we can combine these two.
Ramakrishna was doing that.
Yes. He was totally right. He doesn't want an anti-divine nature here in the name of Brahman. He wanted the divine nature. So, and that is why he was so furious and why he spit on his Vedanta. Because his Vedanta was not leading him to the God. It was leading him away. He knew about it. He could see it. So this is these two. This is a very good story which explains these two.
Very good story, yeah. The only thing is that there's a certain, there's a kind of, it's very diaphanous. It's kind of, because you can get into this spiritual kind of arrogance if you are rejecting before the consciousness is established. Then
Yes.
you just become arrogant.
Correct, absolutely. And this is a shortcoming of rejecting only one part of Maya. That's why both are to be there. You have to overcome Maya in this global way first, to be mukta. This is the first step, to be liberated. And the second step is to manifest the divine within the nature. And this requires the second overcoming of Maya. And that was integral yoga of Sri Aurobindo, these two steps, basically. When Pavitra came to him, he asked him about mukti. He said, yes, you can find the people in India who can give you this, mukti, yeah, liberation. But his yoga is already not on that path. Mukti is already in the past. Now the second part of yoga is to bring the divine force into the adhar, into the vessel, and to establish it and to create the divine manifestation, which is much more difficult, he says. And the second one, and there you will have to fight all the time. This is the path of the Vedic rishis, second one, not the first one. The first one is done for them. That's why they
Yes.
never speak of mukti. But they always speak about transformation of nature. They always fight with the forces, reject them, kill them, burn them, and so on, with the help of those, of course, divine powers. But still, it's a constant preoccupation, journey on the way. And that is the second part.
Yeah, it's very tricky. I'm finding this to be a very yeah, this is a very interesting that this comes up at this point, because I'm, very much kind of in kind of discrimination or something in between those two. I'm very engaged in this.
Yeah, if you can take both of them and, how to say, then you will be well balanced. You don't need to be judging too hard the thing because you do not know totally. Yeah? And since it is all divine manifestation, what divine wants from it, you don't know totally. Yeah? But when it comes to you, to your discrimination, to your path, to your building up, your divine connection, then you have to be discerning. You cannot take everything, whatever comes. You have there's something within you which will tell you. You have to trust that voice from within, from the
And it's
heart.
very, very clear that's not where the problem is, really. The problem is when you see others, well, it's just like you said, it's for you. It's your discrimination and your choice of only um, only defaulting to the divine. But then when you see everybody else doing things that are so stupid, it's
Oh, right.
and
Yeah.
dark and not, and just saying, blessing them to be able to do whatever it is they need to do.
Oh no,
And
you are blessing them for the divine within them. So that means whatever wrong is done will be completely changed. That's what Mother says when the people come for her blessings. She says, what I do, I take you and give to the Lord. That's it. It is up to him. It's not up to me. So he will do what is required in that situation. Whatever stupidity you may have, it will be amended in some way.
yeah, well, and yeah, it's not an easy thing. You have to, I mean, and you know this because you've had to do it yourself. You have to kind of separate yourself. You have to pull yourself back from, in a certain way, to pull yourself away from the kind of
Right.
influence, the
Yeah.
darkness.
Yeah,
And
which
yet
which
you
is
have to.
attracting something in our nature. There are so many seeds of inconscient and of that that evolutionary past which already kind of trained themselves and established themselves here, which are calling us back and saying, let us also have a little share of this enjoyment, because the embodiment is an enjoyment which everybody wants to get in one way or another. Doesn't matter which way. Everyone comes to this piece of cake to get some piece, of it. Mm. The attitude which when you were talking us that it is difficult to balance the two, immediately comes from me from the Kenai again, where he starts the whole second chapter with Naham Veda Suvedeti, Nona Vedeti Vedacha. Jonas tad Veda, Nona Vedeti Vedacha. And this is also a very tricky, nice position. I don't know that I know it well. Naham Veda Suveda iti. I don't know that I know it perfectly. Nona vedeti vedacha, but I also don't know that I don't know. This is this proper attitude, you know. I cannot say that I know it perfectly, what is to be done, but I also don't know that I don't know, because there is something in me, some discrimination force, this individual force, which knows actually, but it cannot claim knowing it totally and perfectly. Jonas tadveda tadveda. Who of us knows that, knows that. Nona vedeti vedacha. And who doesn't know, he doesn't know. So this subtle between knowing and not knowing, discriminating as distinguishing as
Discriminating,
undistinguishable,
yes, and not
distinguishing
judging.
and not as distinguishable, is to leave behind this arrogance of you being in charge, because immediately the mental being takes charge and you become part of Maya process, even if you speak the truth. Because it's not about saying the truth, it's not about explaining it, it's about really having that perception, having that experience.
Being in it.
So some people may speak very well, but it doesn't lead to experience. It doesn't lead you out of this Maya. It leads you more and more into Maya, and more arrogant Maya. As I'm nowadays working with Ken Wilber, my God, what an arrogance. Incredible. More I read, more I'm kind of like,
So why are, of all the things that you read, why are you reading him now?
I have to help the person to make the book, Sri Aurobindo and Ken Wilber. So I have to read. And he kind of compares, because he hijacked everything, all the vision from Vivekananda, Sri Aurobindo, involution, evolution, and then at the end he discards them. You know, he says that they are otherworldly and so on and so forth. He doesn't see at all this vision. So
Isn't this funny? Now, this is a pattern, I think. The hijackers they suck everything out, they use it, they bend it a little bit so it looks like it's theirs, and then ultimately they just reject it in totality.
correct.
That's a pattern, I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
He calls it in his book U-turn theory. So they first come to and are so delighted to discover new ways of looking at things, consider Buddha and Sri Aurobindo their gurus, and then slowly they take these terms, visions, they make their schemes, put their own terms, they change their names, yeah, and then they say, they also speak about this. Slowly you can see that first they also speak, and then they speak, but they don't really know what they say. I'm here to tell you what it is. Yeah, it's a fresh and new, as he says, abruptly original. He calls him his own theory, abruptly original. Can you imagine? Everything is in this term. How can it be abruptly original? That shows
Well,
the complex already of the.
that reminds me of Deepak Chopra,
Mm,
very same exact movement.
correct.
Hijacking and taking ownership, and then once you've taken the ownership, then you reject it altogether.
Exactly.
That's interesting. So let me ask you one thing real quickly. This is just my own. Where you know that there's a Upanishad, and I think it's Taittiriya, where it's that one that says, "From Ananda, all beings are born. Through
Right.
Ananda, everything is maintain, and into Ananda everything dissolves. Do you
Yes.
remember where that is actually from?
Yes, Taittiriya, the third chapter, Bhrigu. Anandat.
Taittiriya.
Yeah, Taittiriya Upanishad, third chapter.
And you said
Bhrigu is the name of the chapter.
okay. And you were going to recite it?
Well, yeah, Anandad Hyeva Kalvimani Bhutani Jayante, Anandena Jatani Jivanti, Anandam Prayanti Abhisam Vishanti. Yeah, so this is
Yeah. I want to memorize that.
right. Bhrigu is powerful, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm. Okay, so that was on Maya. And so we can take another hymn, basically. So we can start today and continue next time. I will have to sign out on time because I have class coming up exactly on
Okay.
time. Okay, the next hymn is 564, Archanana, Atreya. It's from Atri family. Varunam vorishadasam richamitram havamahe Vrajeva bahvo jaganvansa suvarnaram. Ta bahava suchetuna prayantamasma archate shivam hijariyam vam vishwasuksha sujoguve. The leaders of the bliss to the blissful home. This is the overcoming of Maya. The Rishi invokes the lords of the infinite wideness and harmony whose arms embrace the soul's highest plane of the truth and bliss. To extend to him those arms of awakened consciousness and knowledge, so that he may have their all-embracing delight. He aspires by the path of Mitra to the joy of his harmonies in which there is no wound, no hurt, conceiving and holding the highest by the power of the illumining word. He would aspire to an increase in that plane, the proper home of the gods. Let the two great gods create in his being that wide world of their divine strength and vastness. Let them bring to him its plenitude and felicity in the dawning of the divine light and the divine force.
Hmm.
So also pleasant, yes, so kind of all the words are in their right place. They're not sharp, they are smooth and have vastness.
Hmm.
Varunam vorishadasam richamitram havamahe. Varuna, the destroyer of foe, and Mitra, we call to you by the word of illumination. Richa. Rik is Rigveda, the word of illumination. Their arms encompass the world of the power of light, as if cast around the pens of the shining herds.
So encompassing, and the arms encompassing is kind of like the vastness, putting a limitation, putting some sort of, in conversation about Maya, it's the vastness kind of putting some sort of
Right. What?
limitation on it for the purpose of knowledge, of knowing it.
Correct. The vastness is embracing you, yeah? Squeezing you into its own. The unlimited vastness is embracing you, encompassing you. So there is a pressure of that vastness. You can feel its presence. It's concrete. It's not just Yes, it is limiting your limitations. Yeah? In your limitations, you were unlimited. Now you are limited in your limitations by unlimited consciousness.
Yeah.
Right. It's quite interesting that for our mental, our mind is really limited in tools. Yeah, we cannot really create some third. We are either or, limited or unlimited. We do not have more options. Yeah, either black or white. Yeah, we don't have something in between. It's very mind is not capable of easily moving in between or going beyond its instrumentation.
But I
So
mean,
we,
as you grow in consciousness, it becomes more supple and more capable of that
right,
holding, because consciousness is it has a component of mental, but it's unboundedness. You know, it has
correct.
that
It
unboundedness.
uses mental as an instrument rather than following mental as its own truth, you know, as if mental can give the truth. No, it can operate within the world, but it cannot really lead you to knowledge. It's not giving you knowledge. Knowledge emerges from other means. But mind can play its role. It can help. It can reject, for example. It can focus, hold, or concentrate. It can get the power of concentration and hold. But knowing, it can't do. And consciousness can, but mind is an instrument of consciousness, which consciousness uses in order to discover itself. All right, we can stop here for today.
Very nice.
And yes, and
So, are you having Vedic studies tomorrow?
yes, we have. Yes, right. Yeah.
Okay, I'll be there.
All right, great. Okay, let us close with the mantra. Om Vang me manasi pratisthita mano me vachi pratishthitam aviravirma edi vedasyama ani stha shrutam me ma prahasi anena dhitena horatram samdadhami Ritam vadishyami, satyam vadishyami, tanmam avatu, tadvaktaram avatu, avatu mam, avatu vaktaram, avatu vaktaram. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om. Okay, see you. Namaste.